This is Arif Halaby on your hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS. Hey, welcome to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby, along with Jeff Girard, talking about your family's finances, of course, getting out of debt, managing money, and planning for your family's future. It's all about understanding, I think, trends, really, understanding what's going on and taking place in the financial world, because your family's finances, first of all, have to be your responsibility. Right. You understand that everybody in the financial markets has an agenda. And I don't think it's bad. As long as it lines up with yours, that's fine. But one of the things you want to make sure that what you're doing, it fits your needs. In other words, each account has a job to do, right? It could be the account that you have sitting at your checking account and your savings account, right? Job is to pay for your electric bill this month. It's to pay for your property taxes next month. It's to do that type of thing. That's the job of those monies. When you're young, 100% of the money generally coming in and goes back out between gas, probably car insurance, dates with your girlfriend or girlfriends, I don't know, depending on how busy you are. But really, it all comes in the front door and goes out, right? You're making what you're making. But the sooner you can start a habit of saving, the sooner you can get into a position to where when money comes in, part of its job is to go for the future. Right. Jeff, we talk about money going for retirement, but I think retirement for today's 40s and maybe 50s, but 30, 40-year-olds is going to look different than today's 60, 70-year-olds. But it's still going to be a place and time when you want to work less for money.
That's right, and I think you're onto something. Maybe the word retirement has a bit of a stigma when it comes to millennials, right? They think of putting money aside, and I can't touch it for 40 years. That's boring. Nobody wants to do that anymore. They want to put their money to work for them. They want it to give them some freedom. So maybe we need to give it a new name or coin a new phrase. But whatever the case is, we've called it retirement because of not only our industry, but that's just the word, the buzzword we've used, and it just signifies something. It's not necessarily a destination. It's just a lifestyle. It's a way of life. And the more money you have set aside means you have more choices, and you don't have to go to work every day for somebody else or turn a wrench or flip a house or perform a service. There are things that you can just kind of do by existing, and that's a nice feeling to have. And the more money you put away, obviously, it's pretty obvious that you'll have more choices. But starting sooner, and I think that's the message we're trying to promote here, is people in their 20s and 30s that are working, they need to start setting some money aside. And I've found that the sooner you start, the less you have to put in and the more you can take out.
And the sooner you have the choices. A lot of people go to work because they're conditioned in the school system, right? There's a lot of controversy right now about some of the schools between junior high and high school and elementary lining up with their existing other schools, meaning you might have two children, one in high school, one in junior high. One takes time off and one time a year, right, and one gets off a little earlier, a little later. What does that do for a working mother or working father that has to stay home because now they don't have childcare? Or what does that do when you're trying to take a kid to school and now you have different start times? It seems to me in a system and in a society where you can sit down with the superintendents of the different schools and put who first? The teacher unions? Or maybe, just maybe, let's call me silly for a second, maybe you put the needs of the children and the families first. Look, I get the controversy, guys. I get it. But go back to the beginning. The beginning is you put the kids first. And if I'm a kid, if I'm a young person, right, a kid, whatever, and I'm in the 4th grade, being home with my parents on a family vacation because everybody knows that the second week of April is Easter vacation this year, wouldn't you think it's valuable for the child to be home? I love it. I was listening to some of the controversy and they were saying, well, it's good for you to spend time with one-on-one with that child. Okay, how about you go back to being a teacher and you let us be parents? That's a good idea. We could raise our hand for that one, right? Not every educator has kids. Not every superintendent has kids. And some of them even put their children in private schools. Ooh, wait, what? Many people that work for the school districts put their kids in private schools. Look, I'm not beating up on the school system. I think it's very valuable. In fact, we're blessed to have the system that we currently have here in the Santa Clarita Valley because it's probably one of the best in the state for sure. And maybe, I don't know, top 10 or 50 or 100, but certainly in the top whatever of the United States. What I'm saying is remember the mission. It's to develop a well-rounded thinking child. And a well-rounded thinking child doesn't just get information from the school district, but also from their family. Not just from their family, but when they get to travel, whether it's to Yosemite or Shanghai, but they get to travel and be with their friends and family. And when you can make it better, then this journey called life, where you have a short bit of time of raising your kids, can be a little bit more fun.
Well, and I agree with you. I mean, if there was some level of predictability when it comes to those times off, you could really plan around some really fascinating, I think, life-changing things for your kids. I can speak from direct experience, having multiple kids and having at one point 4 different schools between the 5 kids. That means different start times, different end times, different vacation times, different, you see what I'm saying? So the sessions don't really allow for that consistency like you're looking for. And another part of it is, and you touched on some great points, when it comes to the parenting of the child, that's one aspect, but you give up a little bit of that when you send your kids off to school.
You do. You do. And we're counting on you as administrators and educators to do the best you can. And let me tell you, it's what I have found is the educator who is in the trenches working with the kids on the day-to-day basis, they are often some of the best people I know.
Sure.
And I tell you that because they feel like they are getting hit from the top. When they sit in my office, they have very little good things to say about you, administrators of schools. There's a couple of exemptions. Number one, Bill Boldy. And unfortunately, he's just retiring. I've known Bill for years, but people that come to my office that work for him, they don't come in and tell me anything bad. Look, I would just not tell you his name. I just wouldn't bring it up, right? Because I don't think that's right. But I'm telling you because I don't know of anybody that can say anything bad about Bill. Now, is that a 1 in a million? Maybe. But what if it happens to be just a way to be a manager? I don't know. Maybe every other school district can hire somebody like him to come in and say, how do you get it so you think of the needs of the child, the needs of the district, the needs of the taxpayer, and the needs of the parents, and the needs of the employees, the educators. You're never going to be perfect. Nobody ever expects to get 100% of their way. But folks, they do expect to be treated fairly and like adults. And when we pulled our kids out of school, we stopped school, putting our kids in a regular school when my oldest was in the 2nd grade. Why? Because bell rings, stand up, bell rings, sits down. We send our kid to school, and they said, you can't keep teaching. They told the 1st grade teacher and the kindergarten teacher, because we had one at different times. They said, you can't keep teaching them the math and the English because there's nothing for me to teach them in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, said the other educators. Because my kid and a few others, were advanced. There's like 4 of them that were reading at a much higher level. She said, you got to stop teaching them that. I'm like, are you kidding?
They wanted you to stop that at home?
No, they said that you couldn't teach, for example, the kindergarten teacher, the kids got the math.
Got it.
And there's still, 3 months left in the school. So they said, well, we're just going to keep on going. So then they entered 1st grade, and they said, well, we had already taught our kids to read at an early age, and math, and we played games, right? I'm in the financial world. Surprise, my kids know how to do math. So we played games, and we did stuff, and so they would get to school. So then I became the room dad for a bit, and I would sit in the classroom, and the kids that were done with their work would go over there and play with blocks, or they would color. And I'm thinking, goodness gracious. Now, I understand there's some social benefits to those things, but every day? 3 times a week? So we wanted a lifestyle of travel, and we were getting hit back from the school district saying, whoa. We lose money when you pull the kid out of school. I know, but the rates are better in April or May than July or August. And the weather's better where we want to go in the spring or the fall, not the summer. And plus my kids were, give me the work. Okay, we did it on the plane in a half an hour. It's done. So I share that with you because don't think you have a monopoly anymore, public schools. You don't. Charter schools, private schools, homeschooling. It's huge. And I want you to stay valuable. I want you to stay important. I want you to stay relevant. A friend of mine is an educator in Arizona, and she sent me something recently, and I'd never heard of this before. And it's basically like freestyle seating in a classroom instead of the desks in a very militant, fashion like I grew up. You did.
Sure.
At the desk. Maybe today, right? A lot of the schools are this way. She has brought in couches and chairs and bean bags and a couple of the regular desks. And it's not in, it's like organized chaos. I don't know if that's the right word, but organized disorganization. So in other words, everybody's sitting in the classroom and they're learning. And I said, so how did that work so far, right? Because I check in with her, and if she needs stuff, we send it to her. And she says, the kids' grades are better than ever. And she works in a pretty tough part of town. She works in kind of a certainly a lower income and very heavily minority, kind of one group, right? There's not a mixture. It's not an upper end community of any sort. And she said the kids are behaving. Discipline is at all-time lows. And I thought, really? So why would I ever tell somebody with a master's degree in education, you have to be in a row, you have to do this? Why would an administrator from miles and miles away who hasn't been in that classroom but once for 15 minutes know how those kids should react?
So in a less rigid environment, there was more self-discipline, better behavior, and the aptitude was able to show.
Bizarre,
because the
huh?
grades were there. Oh,
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah, if you would have asked me before, right, I'm not an educator and I don't understand that world, right? But if you were to ask me before, I'd say, no, the kids need discipline. Raise your hand, stand up, sit down, don't do this. But that's not the way it is. And the kids are learning, and they're growing, and they're disciplined, their respect for each other, their respect for the teacher. Those things are amazing. So when we have a bit of a controversy taking place right now in Santa Clarita, and it's about lining up the schools, you have my vote. Because just about everything today, just about everything you can learn, up to and probably through the junior high, maybe even high school, you can find online, right here, on computers, website, free internet. Just about everything. Content. Take that and say, well, we're going to make life more experiential. Because knowledge now comes to you. You see, it used to be different. Right? We would have summer off. Why? Because the kids had to get out on the farm.
Interesting.
We had to take summer off because that was harvest time, folks. And we had to take time off in the springtime. We had to take time off in the fall because there was planting. There was work to be done. Surprise, we're not an agrarian society anymore.
Right.
So year-round schools are better. See the decline that happens in the mind of a child during the summer. My educator clients come to me and they say, Arif, I spend the first 2 weeks just kind of reminding them what they lost the last 2 months. And some kids aren't quick enough to pick that up. They need a bit more ongoing, if you will, concentration on what they're doing. They need that steady drip of information.
I agree. It's kind of like a really, really, really long weekend, right? I mean, come back on a Monday and everybody takes a little bit of time to grease the gears a little bit, get the cobwebs out, and then they get rolling. Well, I mean, months and months, especially a young person, their mind goes so far away
look
from school.
Look at you, our listeners. Look at all of you guys, right? When you take a 2-week vacation, you come back and part of you seems like you never left. The other part is going, gosh, what oh, wait, what happened to that? The Smith file is already done. Wow. Or where did this new person come from? Or, oh, we hired somebody while I was gone? Mm-hmm. Right? It takes you a minute to get back. And we'll now take an immature child in life and in experience and in wisdom, and you do the same thing, but for 2 months. So I don't know if the answer is multiple breaks, but shorter ones. I don't know if that's the case. But I think beginning number one, to line up the time off between the different schools will tell me as a parent that you value me and what I am doing in the life of my child during this education time. If you think that the only place they're going to get education is 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, bell ring, stand up, bell ring, sit down, bell ring, turn in your homework, bell ring, be quiet. If you think that is the answer, folks, you're just living in a bubble. And then people say, well, Arif, we've pre-negotiated this year with the teachers' unions, and they represent and they stand for. I get it, man. Unions have a place. But I think you have to take a leadership position, folks, and you have to go to them and say, hey, listen, I know, can we get a vote here? Can we talk to the teachers? Can we talk to them and say, hey, folks, we're getting a lot of pushback now because there's a lot of options. There is, believe it or not, competition. Parents have, the school districts have competition. Ask them how many students. Thousands of them are homeschooled now. Those are dollars, poof, poof, gone. Bye-bye from the district. Right? I still had to pay property tax. And my kids never stepped foot in a public school.
Mm-hmm. That feels great, I bet.
Thousands of dollars a year in property tax.
Yeah.
And my kids, drove by a public school once, right on the way to work. So there are people paying for this that are not utilizing it and are choosing to also pay for, directly or indirectly, private school or homeschooling. Well, that is your choice. Yes, it is.
Great. Where can I opt out of the property taxes, right?
That's right. I like to opt out of that. Can you just send it back to me? Right? And every time they talk about school choice, everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're going to have the poor kids, the ones whose parents don't care, they're going to be left in this little cesspool of a place called a public school. Oh, really? Really? I got an idea. How about you just make it not happen? How about you just create it where, oh my gosh, you are the best public school. We are already some of the best public schools right here in Santa Clarita. What are we so worried about? Give people a choice. And if you end up with the, quote, negative selection, the dumber students, the less educated, the less motivated, the higher disciplinary problems, they're the ones that are going to sit in the public schools while their parents run around and go do other things. Well, maybe, or just maybe, you can improve your ability to learn how to get to right. The friend of ours who's the teacher out in Arizona, she figured out how to do it. She figured out exactly how to go and take the next step because she had discipline problems.
Sure.
Right? Some of the kids had moms and dads that are alcoholics that abuse each other. I mean, you know those horror stories. That's her classroom. And yet she motivates these kids. I think she's an angel. I think anybody who deals with special needs kids or with high-risk kids, right, the ones that want to learn and make it easy, that's easier. I'm not saying it's, you're less of a teacher. I'm just saying it's easier than dealing with and learning how to motivate the heart and mind. Because I can tell you the name of all of my teachers through elementary school. I don't know if you can.
I can too.
All of them, yes. And I can tell you which ones were not nice and which ones changed. 5th grade, Mrs. Lee. I was getting picked on because I was answering a lot of questions, so for, a week or whatever the time was, I stopped answering questions and I just started doodling. And she came to me and she said, Arif, why aren't you responding? Why aren't you participating anymore? I said, well, I don't know. And she knew, she could sense, right, that the kids were picking on me. And she came to me and she said, don't ever let other kids determine your success. Your future is not based on what they think of you. It's what you can do. Folks, my 5th grade teacher, what's that, 10 years old? If you don't think the value of an educator in a person's life who's 50, right, 40 years ago, if you don't think that is incredible, don't lose that. And don't turn it into just a normal job. Look, teachers knew they weren't going to be rich by doing this job. Just like policemen and firemen, they knew that this is a job that's more public service than massive pay in the internet, .com world of buying and selling. Mm-hmm. So please keep in mind that we need to educate our young people. We need to value the teachers, but don't forget the families. Jeff, you have 5 children. I think all 5 of your kids are in public school.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that because what I wanted to share, and thank you for allowing me to do that, is that part of what we've done is augment that experience. And what I mean by that is we have our kids in a wonderful elementary school, and through experience, we'll call it, once we experienced something other than what we had hoped for, we tried with one of our oldest child to go to a charter school. And so that really allowed a lot of freedom and a lot of different choices for us and some flexibility as parents. So that's really been really a blessing in disguise for us. We didn't think it was going to turn out to what it has, but it's actually, my son's pioneered the way for the other kids.
Oh, wow.
And we've made a decision as a family. Look, I'll tell you, 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, my wife was against homeschooling, against everything else, not because it's a bad thing, but because she felt intimidated by it. And then being able to kind of toe into this where we have a bit of a hybrid system, and in fact, not all charters are like this, but it gives you a choice where you can have your appointments and have your in-classroom experience, and then there is that semi-rigidity, I guess, where you have a classroom environment, you have a time that you have to be there, but I think that's great for the accountability part that you have to be somewhere. But then a lot of the work is done on their own. So the onus is back on the child to do that and have to self-manage and create a time system so that they can have things in. And look, if they don't have their work in on time, guess what happens? They don't just get detention. Oh, you get to sit in at recess, or oh, we're going to keep you after school. They don't do that. They say, you're withdrawn. We're kicking you out of school is
Wow.
in the nicest ways that they can put it. And so the kids feel a lot of, pressure good pressure, I think, to actually perform and do the work that they're supposed to do. So that's the path that we've chosen.
Think about it this way, guys. I don't know where you're supposed to learn something in 50 minutes or 52 minutes or 56 minutes.
Yeah.
What I really liked about the homeschooling world that our kids were a part of was that they might go once a week, but for 2 hours in literature, taught by a college professor or a stay-at-home mom who has her master's degree in history. Or they might go for an hour and a half, 2.5 hour lab in a lady's garage who is a retired scientist or a stay-at-home mom now that was a science teacher. And the whole stinking garage is a lab.
Nice.
And the kids get to sit there. And then they're given homework when they go home. What I never understood was why would my kids, our oldest was in second grade when we made the decision, why would my second grader come home with homework? I'm like, what the heck have you been doing all day? Why do you ever have homework? I don't get it. I worked all day. I'm coming home to be with you, not to have you sitting down, eating dinner, and running to this. Right? I didn't raise kids so that I could see the back of their head and a pencil move. I raised kids so that I could be with them. Your job at school is to be at school. Well, the homework is important. I don't know if it is. I'm not a teacher. I'm not that smart. All I know is that you took away from my family time, and I wasn't going to do it. Way too valuable. It was the easy out, I can promise you that. But it was much more valuable for me to have time with my family and my kids. And you're now competing with those folks, public schools. You better make sure you remember that, because as this wave of change is happening in our society rather rapidly, just like the progressive left is getting all wacky, the conservatives are going back and checking their values and saying, you know what, wait a second, I'm sending my kid to a public school who's giving them credit for being there when they go out and walk out on the street and protest something that they don't even understand. I didn't send my kids for political indoctrination. I sent them to a place where they could be free thinking. And yet more and more YouTube videos are coming out where teachers are kicking out kids because they wear a Donald Trump t-shirt, calling it hate speech. What the heck? Hate speech is what is protected? Why would they even have a First Amendment right to protect everything I like? What? It's like you gain no calories when you eat junk food. I like that. I like that. That's a good rule. All the junk food you can eat. Look, of course hate speech has to be protected. I don't like it. I'm going to turn the channel. I'm going to walk away. But folks, you're walking a dangerous line. If you think the public school system is not in jeopardy, I'm telling you it is. Because you have to remember the family. Don't forget the family. We'll be back in just a minute. Total Financial Solutions. I'm Arif Halaby. That's Jeff Girard. On your place for news, talk, and information, your hometown station, KHTS.
Tucked away in Canyon Country is an upscale, intimate, unforgettable dining experience. Taste the wonders of Italy at Piccola Trattoria. This gem of a restaurant is our valley's best-kept secret, but not for long. The secret will be out once you've tasted their homemade pastas, pizzas, ossobuco, or their scrumptious sausage, fresh seafood, or steaks. Better save room for dessert. Your table will be fighting over who gets the final bite of their heavenly tiramisu. Piccola Trattoria, off Sierra Highway on Dolan Way. Your unforgettable dining experience.
Looking for a fun day with the kids? Visit Ice Station Valencia. With 3 rinks, Ice Station offers every type of skating program imaginable, from ice hockey and figure skating to public skating sessions every day. Ice Station is a great place to bring a group, so ask about our special group rates. Our glass-enclosed restaurant, The Grill, offers a scrumptious array of tasty snacks and entrees. For info, call 775-8686 or skate to the net, www.icestation.net. Ice Station Valencia, right across the street from Valencia High School.
Natural Balance limited ingredient diets are simple formulas with simple ingredients. Feed your pet a limited ingredient diet to ensure they only get the very best of what they need. High quality nutrition with a limited number of animal protein and carbohydrate sources to help support healthy digestion. Available at Fox Feed, one of the largest feed and supply stores providing quality feed and pet products in Santa Clarita since 1976. Shop local, shop Fox Feed, where their experts will guide you with what's best for your pets and livestock on Sierra Highway 2 miles north of Soledad.
It's allergy season again. You've tried it all, yet your sinuses continue to be a problem. Try something different, something holistic, something that will really work. Acupuncture. Kathleen Keneally is Santa Clarita's acupuncture and innate specialist. She's been treating many of your neighbors and their children for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and pain. Find out how acupuncture can improve the quality of your life. Call Kathleen Keneally for a free phone consultation. 252-4100. 252-4100. Acupuncture. It really works.
You worry because your mom and dad aren't as active and are finding it more challenging to live on their own. The answer? Premier Assisted Living Community opening in Santa Clarita. Oakmont of Santa Clarita, now leasing. Located on Newhall Ranch Road, Oakmont of Santa Clarita, bringing comfort and luxury to assisted living. Your parents can enjoy 5-star amenities and panoramic views in a world-class community. No other assisted living community has this kind of luxury and amenities in our valley. Visit oakmontofsantaclarita.com.
KHTS.
This is your place for news, talk, and information, your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. All right, we're talking about your life, really, the financial education, the difference that's happening. Look, I think in our public school system today, and in our private school, homeschool, all of the systems that are educating our kids, I think you cannot forget the fact that there needs to be some level of financial literacy, right? We've talked about this before, that there needs to be more than this is how you fill out a checkbook. Really grab a 15-year-old and ask them if they even know what a checkbook is.
And then put an 8-track and a cassette next to that, and come on.
Or better yet, this is how you swipe a debit card. Right? I remember the kids were little, and we were driving somewhere, and my wife says, oh, shoot, I don't have any money with me. Okay, I've got to stop the ATM. So she stops at the ATM. She gets some cash out of the ATM. Fine. And another time the kids said, hey, Dad, just go over to that machine. There's money you can take out anytime you want. I go, what? They go, yeah, even if you don't have any money, that machine always has it. You just have to punch in some numbers.
That is great stuff.
I thought, I don't know, they were 6 or 7, whatever it was. And you think they have some of the concept down,
right?
But they're just kind of missing the other side. Financial literacy will tell you a few things. Number one, it will keep you from getting taken advantage of by financial guys and gals. Right? We had another scam right here in Santa Clarita. I think this one was just, I want to say it was only like $5 million that was stolen.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, imagine that. Guys, come on, really? You have to think about this. The more financially literate you are, the less likely, I'm not saying it's impossible, it can happen to anybody, but the less likely you are going to be taken in financial scams, frauds. I don't mean a bad investment. I don't mean something that, hey, you took a chance and it went bad. That happens, right? I bought this company stock or whatever, and I thought it was going to go up and it went down. Okay, but was it a legit company? Was it a real company? Those things, fine. You need to learn how to do a spreadsheet. You need to look at how does the profit and loss work. And if these are foreign terms to you, and you have something called a bachelor's degree or even a high school diploma, and you don't know what I'm talking about, and you are putting money from your retirement account or from your paycheck into a retirement account at work, you're taking money from your paycheck and putting it into a 401k or a 403b, or if you work for city, state, county, it's called a 457. If you're doing that and you don't have financial literacy behind you, folks, that's a piece that's missing history and what happened to Charlemagne and tell me about Cleopatra and the rise of the Greek gods and all that craziness. What does that do? Today I get paid a check and I have taxes taken out. And somehow you convinced me on your local bond measure to charge me more on it's only 1% more in sales tax. It's only, and you guys, I didn't. You guys fell for that silly bullet train baloney, where the terrain. I mean, just think past 1 and 2. The terrain does not allow it to go that speed. We're not the prairie land of Iowa. So they build a bullet train concept where when it goes through the passes, it drives in between the stops, right? It's like, oh, I'm going from this stoplight to this stoplight. Oh, but your car can go 140 miles an hour. That's what the speedometer says. But you're stopping at this stoplight called picking up passengers, and then you're going to this stoplight called dropping off or picking up passengers. I don't care what your speedometer says. You can't go 140 miles an hour. You're going to get ding, get out, please, get in. Simple, right? When you stop teaching logic and you teach things like Common Core, how did that get past you? How did you get to a place thinking you were so far above the kings not wearing clothes, and everybody was convinced that they were so elite that 1 + 1 stopped being 2? Step back and check yourself. Like, when did that become okay? You can call yourself a Democrat, a Republican, a progressive, a conservative, but somehow you lost your mind when you said, check that box is okay. Financial literacy, Jeff, we see it time and again.
It's a big deal. I mean, I'll tell you, I've railed against this for a while, at least on this show, and privately a bit too. 10 minutes it seemed like before I left 12th grade, and I'm going to be kicked out into the real world as an 18-year-old, age of majority. I have the ability to go out and earn money. I have the ability to go spend money. 10 minutes before they kick me out in the real world, they say, here's how you write a check. Here's how you balance a checkbook. They don't talk about credit cards and, hey, before you get to the university, when you sign up for that free T-shirt, you're also being put into a pool of people that are going to start soliciting credit cards to you. And don't worry, just put household income. So that's whatever your mom and pa make. And you know what? Great. You're going to qualify. Don't worry. Here's what to look out for. Here's 2-cycle billing. Here's this. Tell me the crux of it. If you're going to tell me about the history, tell me why a civilization fell. Tell me why someone's rise to power happened. Tell me the message behind those things so that I can take that as a life lesson out into the real world and say, okay, stay away from this, do more of that, definitely sign me up here, I don't want any of that. That would have been helpful. But it's up to us, right?
Truly, and one of my favorite is you require people to go through this process of learning calculus.
Oh my gosh.
Or quantum physics. And let me tell you, AP Physics in high school was one of my favorite classes. Just was. But you require people to learn that. And most of them are never going to enter a field. I don't know, 80, 90, 100, 89%, whatever the number is, right? Are never going to enter a field where they learn that. But Arif, it's the thought process and the thinking that allows them to transition to other career paths. And they still don't understand interest. Compounding against them, compounding for them. So, folks, I'm telling you that whatever physics, calculus, baloney that you think you're teaching the 80% that are never going to use it in their career, you better replace that, or you better make sure the thought process that says this is why we're teaching you this teaches them how to not get certain retirement accounts where the fees are $3,000 and $4,000 and $5,000 a month. Earlier today, $1,100 a month in fees. How is that okay? How is that normal? Last week it was this week it was today $21,000 a year, I think was the number. It's about $2,000, almost $2,000 a month. Yesterday was $1,100 a month. Somewhere in the salesman's mind, they convinced the person that it was okay to buy this. The math, fine. What are the benefits? If I'm going to give you $1,100 a month, what do you give me in return? Right? And if I say, oh, that's a pretty good deal, I'll buy it, no problem. But do you realize most people don't even know what they're paying? Most people don't even think that they're paying enormous fees for no benefits, which means who wins? Wall Street. Ding. You just go to work, bell ring, stand up, bell ring, sit down. You go to work, take your weekend off. Hey, what are you doing? 3-day weekend? Go ahead. Pay your paycheck. Make sure I get paid. Thank you. Put money in your retirement account. And then close your eyes and wake up at age 62, and you should have some money in your account.
But you said a key word. You said the salesperson convinced that person. My contention is they didn't disclose everything, because if somebody told me that by putting in X amount of dollars I'm going to be paying X, then it's up to me to say, I decide that that's a good deal. I'm going to give you this. This is what I get for it all day long. But if you're not curious, you don't peel back that layer, you don't ask the question, that's the most important part. It's really sad that that's what we've conditioned ourselves to do, is to trust, 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 and not ever look. I say trust but verify.
One of the most amazing things I saw was that in one particular account, he was taking out $3,800 a month. Okay, that's good, $3,800 a month. The entire fees of everything was somewhere around $2,600. $2,600 for the broker, $3,800 for the client.
Oh my gosh.
The broker was in elementary school when the client was earning this money. And right? Or maybe even diapers, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know he'd only been in the business 8 or 9 years. And so the client had to make a decision. Yes, it makes sense for me, or no, it doesn't. If it makes sense for him, great, do it. But I can promise you it was never taken into account. There was never a process that said, by the way, I'm going to make me and or my supervisor, director, manager, whatever, right? It goes to the company. It leaves your hands. We're going to make $2,800 a month, and you're going to make $3,800. If at the end you say that's a good deal, then good, you win. But if it doesn't seem like a good deal, maybe you ought to make some changes.
Well, and I'll tell you how they probably, in a compliant, legal way, whatever you fill in the blank, disclose that information. It's a little dot separated by a diagonal line. It's called a percentage, right? And so you think, 2%, 3%, I guess that's not a lot out of 100, haha. But translate that into dollars. I think that's where people really get the idea of what they're giving up in order to get what they're hoping that they'll get. Because you've said this, Arif, and it's beautiful. We don't go to the grocery store and spend percentages. We spend dollars. And when you translate that, whatever those fees or those percentages are, into a dollar amount, that makes it real.
That's right.
That's the part. That's the difference, I think, when people realize what they're paying to get what they're getting or not getting.
So when one of my sons is in a statistics class right now at, I think, one of the best community colleges in the country called College of the Canyons. And in his, I still think that it's extremely overpaid management staff there, but I still think it's the best college around. You ever want to do the math with me? I have no problem. Hey, guys, I know sometimes you listen, and I love you. I think you're great people. I just think you're way overpaid. But if you ever want to come in, I don't mind graphs and charts. We can do a little town hall. It's fine with me. Give me about, 15 minutes or a week to prepare. I can show you how the math doesn't work. But in any case, it doesn't matter. Best community college going. And at the end, you take a look and you say, all right, here we have a system, right? And my son's going through the book. And when it makes sense for them, right? I'm going to be off on the numbers, but I want you to grab it because I'm just going off of memories. And he says, there are 2.4 billion tons of carbon dioxide that man puts in the air every year when it comes to, environmental global warming or something like that. 2.5 billion tons. Whoa. And then they say 230 million pounds of this is and he said, Dad, catch this. So he said it. Okay, I kind of was listening. And he goes, no, listen. How they changed the units of measurement so that the number seemed bigger. So instead of saying 20 to 3.4 billion, so 20 tons to 3.4 billion tons, that's not, or 2, whatever. It's a minuscule number. But they didn't want it. They had a social justice, which is a made-up word, by the way. It doesn't exist. Social justice element. So they take numbers, they skew it with percentages. Oh, look at that, I win again. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, this is the same person that goes heads you win, tails you lose.
Yeah.
Remember that? No matter what, at the end of the game, I still win. Heads I win, tails you lose. That's how it goes. Heads I win, tails you lose. You're like, oh, I lost. Oh, you won. So close. Yeah, maybe next time. Right? You start thinking about this as from a financial literacy, a financial education system. How are you going to make it so that your family wins? Don't be bamboozled by these funny numbers. Don't be bamboozled by these ways that they change percentages, they change numbers, they skew the whole thing, right? Ask the questions. Be tough about it and come to the place. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back in just a minute. Finish up this hour of the program. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Arif, Halaby, Jeff, Girard. Financial literacy. Is your school teaching it? Should your kids learn it?
Visiting Angels is looking for quality caregivers and companions to join our growing team of compassionate, caring people providing care and assistance to Santa Clarita seniors. Our Angels help seniors with activities such as meal preparation, light housekeeping, personal care, and running errands. Visiting Angels takes pride in offering competitive wages, benefits, paid training, and flexible schedules. We have clients throughout Santa Clarita so you can work close to home. Details at visitingangels.com/Santa Clarita.
America's choice in home care.
Have you heard about the Assistance League retail store? For a good time and a great deal and bargains that are amazing steal, there are friendly volunteers ready to share a smile. So come on in and stay a while. We take donations of gently used goods and proceeds from our sales stay in the neighborhood. So for a great buy and a special find, come visit our store anytime. Assistance League retail store located at 24369 Main Street in downtown Newhall.
Satisfy your sweet tooth with a bite of sweet perfection from Nothing Bundt Cakes in Valencia. Their decadent cakes are ideal for your next birthday, anniversary, baby shower, wedding, holiday party, and more. Nothing Bundt Cakes makes their treats readily available without compromising quality. You can expect real butter and cream cheese, fresh eggs, and lots of love in each of their 10 luscious flavors. To order your own sweet treat, visit their Valencia Bakery in the Whole Foods Shopping Center or log on to nothingbundtcakes.com.
Healthcare can be difficult if you're underinsured or have Medi-Cal. Samuel Dixon Family Health Center can help. Services are available on a sliding fee schedule. The mission of the Samuel Dixon Family Health Center is to give the Santa Clarita Valley access to affordable, quality primary care. There are 3 locations to serve you: Canyon Country, Newhall, and Valverde. Go to sdfhc.org for more information and to find the location most convenient for you.
Chiquita Canyon Landfill takes the waste from our homes and local businesses and puts it to good use. With cutting-edge clean energy technology, Chiquita Canyon powers 10,000 homes each year by harnessing the methane gas from the landfill. So, the next time you wheel your trash can to the curb, feel good that your waste is on its way to making green energy at Chiquita Canyon.
Chiquita Canyon Landfill, our partner in sustainable living.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Thanks for listening to your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. All right, welcome back to the show. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. On your hometown station, KHTS. All right, we're talking about financial literacy and some of the educational systems that we see. Is it catching up? Is it appropriate for today's, fast-moving place of knowledge and information? Here's what used to happen. You had a farm. You had 6, 7, 8, 10 kids. You saved up money. If you were fortunate enough to be able to afford to send one of them to college, you did. Usually the boy. Usually the oldest boy, or one of them. The one that you thought had the best shot at succeeding, but certainly you never educated the girls, my goodness. And that was my mom's family. They grew up on a farm in Michigan. 6 kids. You either joined the military. Well, Vietnam was going on at the time, so they sent a lot of them off to the military. Two out of the 4 boys went to the military. And one went to college. And that one that went to college, back in that day, the job was you saved up your money, you sent one to college, and you said, go find knowledge and bring it back. And everybody worked and they waited, and 3 or 4 or 5 years later, he came back and he said, oh my gosh, let me tell you what I found. Let me share with you the knowledge. outside of our town, outside of the farming community, or milking cows, or pigs, or sheep, or whatever your career was, right? Your farming. Well, why that changed a lot is because today the knowledge comes to you. We still have a educational system where the knowledge itself now comes to you, but we're paying for it as if we have to go to it, right? You have a system set up where you have big brick and mortar buildings with massive union pensions and massive salaries and infrastructure. And go to UCLA, it has never stopped construction from the day it opened. Did you know that? Never. UCLA has never stopped doing some sort of construction. So is it really just a boondoggle that kind of funnels dollars through the system? I don't know. When I went there, it was a nice place, but I don't know. Learned a lot. Everything I learned in that classroom with 400 people sitting around in freshman English or History 101 or whatever the class was in that big auditorium style where the professor you saw maybe twice the whole year and some master's or PhD TA came in to teach it. But why did that guy get paid? Well, he got paid because he was tenured. And then he was on a sabbatical. That sabbatical stands for 7. That means every 7 years they sent the teachers away to go get knowledge and bring it back so we can stay fresh and up to date. But wait a second. If knowledge can come to the students, do you think it could also come to the educators and the professors? So my contention is today the system is not built for what it should do. Now, you can challenge me on it, and there's certainly good points that say, well, Arif, there's a lot of other reasons to have an institutional setup where these people go there and we put our kids there so they can have daycare and / school so that I can go and work. I get it. Not everybody's fortunate. Single moms, 2-income families. Okay, I got you, but maybe you're right. Maybe that's the only thing you can do. But wouldn't it be nice if you actually had a chance to take young people who had a tendency towards science and math, or young people that had a tendency towards the arts, and you help them understand the careers that went along with that, so that they didn't go out and get student loans for $50,000, $60,000, $100,000, so when they graduate, they make $32,000 a year. Wouldn't it be nice to show them the math on that?
It would be wonderful. And I'll tell you, you've brought this up before, and it's a great point. How do we expect an 18-year-old who has 18 years of experience and maybe consciously after being a baby, maybe 3/4 of that, you're asking that person to make a decision on what they want to do for the rest of their life. And you say, well, they can change careers at any time. No, but they're paying for an education, 5 figures, some 6 figures in some cases, to go work in a field which we hope they like and we hope they excel in. They're making not irrevocable, but certainly long-term decisions with short-term amounts of knowledge, if any.
And think of it like this. If you would have sat down with that child in 10th, 11th grade, 12th grade, before they make that decision of where they're going to go to school and the costs that go with it, and you sat down and said, okay, for every year that you take out a student loan in the future, when you graduate, you're going to have to make $600 per month so that you can give $200 to the government in taxes and $400 to the student loan. They go, well, what do you mean by that? You mean I have to pay tax? Yeah, you get to earn money at a higher level, pay taxes on that money, and use the rest. So that means your first $600 of income that month, or $1,000, whatever the number is, but your first $600 of income that month goes to student loans. And you say, well, what about food, shelter, clothing? Well, you better work hard. Well, Arif, if you do the math in a 40-hour work week, that's $15 an hour. Maybe, okay. So that means your first $15 an hour in your first week, that pays for your student loan. Now you have 3 weeks left. So that the next $15 an hour, maybe that pays for your rent or your car. Maybe the next week pays for your insurance. And then, oh, wait, there's not enough left over. If you teach kids that, they'll go, well, maybe I just won't take that much out on student loans. Maybe I'll just wait a little bit. But who loses? The schools. Because remember, the schools have built, the universities have built a system in place so that they receive the money and the student is responsible for it. And they are not responsible to guarantee an outcome. The student has to guarantee the payment. The school does not have to guarantee the outcome. So what you have is a university that says, hey, keep going. You know what? We are impacted. Impacted. You're like, ooh, that sounds like it hurts. Yeah, the nursing, so it's going to take you 5 years. So sorry. 5 years. So you got to get another student loan for 5 years. Oh, wait. You're going to work part-time? 6 years. 6 years. Or I like this one. Hey, you know, that same book that we've been using for 5 years or 10 years, history, history is different now. History changed. So
Right.
You're studying history of the 19th century, and we have a whole new book, and it's $240 to buy a whole new book.
Oh.
You're like, wait a second, but that's the same history. The 19th century has come and gone. There's no new information. Like, oh, hey, we just found out this. Dead Sea Scrolls. No, 19th century, called papyrus. Paper. It's there. So schools have found ways through parking fees and here's one of my favorites. You are forced to buy our health insurance. Like, no, my dad and mom work for motion picture, or he's a police officer, or they work for a hospital. They have amazing insurance. Doesn't matter. You're forced to buy the school insurance. Well, why? That's your first taste, kids, of socialism. You have to pay for something that you're never going to use so that the kids who don't work or whose parents who don't have insurance get to receive something. And the moment you push back on that, they go, it's part of being a civil society. You just have to give. Okay, all right. Well, then you lay it out. Do the math. And let's see what the young people say. I think the reason they are protesting and they keep wanting free stuff is because they think that it's really free. They think rich people are just going to keep working harder and give more money. Maybe. But I think if you go back and do financial literacy and you start, this is an account, this is the stock market, this is a bank, this is a CD, this is an annuity, this is the pros and cons of each, this is when you use this is when you use that. And you teach them, and you might only be able to take them so far, but don't let them forget that financial literacy is part of their total financial life, because that is the only way it's going to work for them. And we're here at yourhometownstation.com, or you can go to TFS Wealth, stands for Total Financial Solutions, tfswealth.com. That's Jeff Girard, and I'm Arif Halaby. Thanks for listening.